Hi there. Thank you so much for listening to Grounded in Maine today. My name is Amy, and I'm bringing back another friend this time. This is Asia Sharif Clark. She was a guest on the podcast over 3 years ago. She has a different topic ish. Little bit of a different topic. When she came on before, we were talking about small spaces, small space gardening, and for the purpose of the process and just having live things growing. And now we are talking about this new. It's not quite an event, but it's like she's a movement. We're doing a movement, Asia. It is called Paint Together, and it starts on July 27th. And so, Asia, I'm so thrilled to reconnect with you. We've been following each other, of course, and so I'm thrilled that you included me in this, and I'm so happy to share this because goodness knows we need more creative process and more time together. So, thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh my God, Amy, you are the best. You are the best. Words cannot say. And I just feel like you're like my sustainability sister. And every time I think about like just our journey together, talking about small space gardening, us sharing just what we were doing, the ups and downs of the
Right.
adventure of gardening, and then of course just creativity in general, everything from your jams to just in midlife, like all the things we do to keep ourselves going, to stay sane, to live, to support the people we love, but then at the same time to nourish ourselves in the process. And I
I'm
think
sure I have no idea what you're talking about.
and I think that's what our work has always been about, right? It's
Yeah.
like, you're a dog mama and you've got responsibilities. And sure, you don't have to send him or her to college, but you still have responsibilities and life is full. And you have loved ones that you take care of. And so at the end of the day, midlife is full. It's, and it doesn't get any less full. I don't think even the older I've gotten. So I
Right.
just think it's just different full. And I don't know. I think like before we started recording, I love that we were talking about all the things that I talked myself out of and how we've
Right.
got to talk about why it took me so long, like more than a decade, to get to this place where I gave myself permission to do some things where I thought, no, I don't have time for that.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I
yeah.
mean, a couple of phrases keep coming up in my head, and we've all said them, I'm sure. Like one, I am so busy,
Yep,
or I don't have time because, like we were saying before we hit record, like we are just like grinding and
exactly.
focused on everyone else and everything else, and like we need to make enough money and we need to get all the things done and take care of everyone,
That's right.
and but what are we doing for ourselves? And we're just like, oh no, I don't have time for that.
Yeah,
I am
yeah,
100% guilty of that, but
yeah.
you have
Same.
learned earlier than me,
Oh
and
no. And
you are
here's
bringing this to the rest of us.
yeah, well, I wish I could say that, but in full transparency, it is always a mind game. It's always a mind game. When the boys were little and they were 5 and 7, and it's like, no, I don't have time for this because I have homework and soccer and bedtime and stories and all these things. And then when they were in middle school and high school, no, because we have college applications, we have college tours, we have this, we have that. There was always a reason to kick that ball down the field. There was always a reason.
Right.
And one of the things that I'm always like really clear and like not rosy colored about is that it always takes like a head on collision for me to go, oh. And it was because, like I told you, in like my early 40s, that I had started to develop this like premenopausal anxiety, which I did not know that's what it was. I just thought I was going crazy. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't understand when like 1 minute I'm fine, and the next minute I'm
A
like
mess. Yeah.
very cagey. And so it was two things that helped with that premenopausal anxiety. gardening and painting. So I basically stumbled into them. The gardening you know about, like I told you, I drowned more plants than I could count, but it was the process. It was putting my
Hmm.
hands in the dirt, it was watering them. And then with the painting, it was just that I said, I need something else to like just calm my nerves. And I came across this one Saturday, maybe a 4 to 6 week watercolor class. And I thought, can I do this? And then I thought, let me try it and see if it helps. And then it was something about, again, not making a masterpiece. I just started like splashing the watercolor around. I started like with the spray bottle. I started picking up this one brush, moving it across this palette. I think at this point I only have like 7 or 9 tubes of paint, but I'm just moving it across. And I noticed at the end of that one session that like my body feels calmer. Like I'm feeling this tightness in my chest when I come, and then I'm feeling this like relief when I leave. And I thought there may be something here, but nowhere in there, Amy, was it like, oh, this would be cool. How about I just spend a leisurely Saturday with a 15 and a 17-year-old and take a watercolor class. I'm like, on what planet? Like, I've got
Right.
things to do. And it just felt so silly, and it
Right.
felt so luxurious. And I just thought, maybe when I'm 50, and now I'm 56, which is hilarious. And I would still talk myself out of it if I could.
Right.
But it was something about that. Just
Yeah.
like having an emergency happen, having
Right.
something
Oh my
happen, you
gosh,
go,
yes.
uh-oh. Yeah.
So something needs to change. And
Yeah.
so when you first took that watercolor, that it was a class
Yeah,
course?
it was like a 6 week workshop. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When you first did that, had you painted before?
No, had no clue.
How did you know that painting was going to be something that, did it just speak to you and you're like, oh,
It's interesting. I think I thought that I loved color so much that it would be fun to play with. But there was nowhere in that conversation that I thought, okay, when I walk out of here, I want to walk out of here with a realistic mountain and trees, and I want something beautiful. I just thought, if I can't like get back to like some really deep cleansing breaths where I could like stop feeling like I'm having a panic attack, there's going to be a problem.
right,
So it was really about, how about just sitting there? It was really more meditative. I think that was it was a survival purchase.
got it.
It was really a survival purchase. And then later I thought, oh, you know what? This is actually fun and creative, but it was the survival first.
Right. I mean, so
Yeah.
something that keeps coming up for me is like, um, well, nothing that I've been doing has been working. So let's try something
Yes.
different.
Huge, huge, huge.
Working myself to the bone is not doing it for me.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I think for a lot of women, they may even share whether it's hair starts falling out, um, like just like panic and like 3 a.m., whatever it is, something goes, there's like this alarm bell that is, first, number one, it's terrifying. But number two, it's communicative. And it goes, hi, let's try something else.
Right. Well, and it starts really quiet, right? Like
It
it's just maybe
does.
an ache or something, and then you're like you were saying, like your hair is falling out, or
Yeah.
you're like physically ill, or
Something. And again, so I never like, and I know people who say, they'll use like artist therapy and they do art therapy, which is a completely different thing. That's usually part of a modality that they do with a therapist. And they include that as a holistic part of what they do. But this is not that. This is just basically for if you're in midlife and you're a woman and you would love to re-explore the possibility of creating something, and at the same time maybe you are knocking on the door of perimenopause or menopause, and maybe you're getting therapy from a wonderful therapist that says, you know what, maybe you could include this in our toolbox of resources for
mm,
you. But it is not, I would not at all tell women, I always say full disclosure, like, don't do this instead of that. If you feel like you really need some extra support, like, that's really important to do. But this is, for me, I found that there was a part of me that I missed. I was always kind of a maker. I don't want to say, people would say, oh, you're so creative. I was kind of always a maker of something, and it just made me feel good. It just made me feel lighter. And then I got so involved with like family and business and teaching that all those things went away. And I told myself, well, that part of me I have to like put in a closet, and she can't come out until like she's much older and they're grown and all these things. And then you write off, and that didn't happen. So I had those little mini emergencies happen to me.
Right.
And that made me say, maybe I need to, because I did talk to someone.
Right.
I immediately went
Maybe
to talk
someday
to
is
someone.
here.
Yeah, I went to talk to someone, and they said, yeah, this could be it, and you could do some breathing. So I did all those like support things to get some support from like a therapist and talk and all those things. But at the same time, I thought, God, my body feels really good when I'm sitting down with that paintbrush, making an absolute mess.
Right.
At the end of this is not a masterpiece. No gallery is going to ask for this. But God, this was so much, it was so much not just fun, there was peace at the end of it. So to that I say, whatever speaks to you. If it's, we talked about knitting, whether it's knitting or gardening or sewing or just stirring a pot and cooking. I know they say stirring a pot's not a good thing. In this case, it really is. But whatever is meditative or calming or just makes you feel fully alive in that moment, like more of that, please.
Right. Oof. Ooh, I love that. And like you were saying, it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
Different types of painting, different crafts or whatever. Like we just need to, in these times when we feel like we're pulled in a million different directions and we're also trying to focus on things, like sometimes you just need to unplug, like detach from all of that and come back to self. Like I think that a word that keeps coming up is dissociated. I hear it all the time.
Yes.
Like we have all these things and we're on autopilot, but we need to like get back to self and focus on what we need to feel alive, like you were saying. And so whatever modality works for you is excellent. And so, but Asia is focusing on painting because
Yes.
she's already done gardening and she's still doing gardening, but painting is the new thing. And so you were saying though that you picked up a paintbrush you said 2010, so like
This was
15,
about-
16 years ago?
Exactly. Yep.
And then you put it down and you were like, yeah, I've done that. I'll come back to it.
Oh, yeah. And then before I knew it, it was like 7 years, 10 years. And there was, again, I was doing, camp applications, then became college applications. And it was just all the applications. And I just thought, no. And I was just getting older, getting grumpier. And I thought, you know what? And, it reminds me of what my older son told me. I'll never forget this one time, because I do equate like, playing with the paintbrush to like a little mini retreat. I went away with some girlfriends for the weekend, and I have not been to this spa since. That tells you how long ago it was. I think this was like 2002. I think it was probably my last time going. But we had such a good time, and it didn't matter what we did. When we came back, he looked at me, and I think he was 8 at the time, and he said, Mom, I don't know what you did this weekend, but you should do that again. So that in itself, and that every time I sit down with a brush or some charcoal or something, and I'm layering a painting and I'm making a mess, I say, I have that like his 8-year-old self in my head going, doesn't matter what you did.
More of that.
More of that, because whatever it is, you just look lighter, you feel lighter, lighter, you're less grumpy. I mean, just like all those things. It's like, yeah. And then it reminds us as women, it's not just for us, but when we nourish ourselves, we really are nourishing sisters, parents, kids, puppies. It all helps.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that ripple effect. Yeah.
Yes. And that I just have this vision of like you painting with like sun rays like beating down on you, and
that's too funny.
I have such a clear vision of that in my head, and I love that you found that. I love that you found that, and I know that when you first started gardening. Like it was like a for real burnout at work, but it was probably also the perimenopause that we were talking about.
Exactly. I just
So
wanted to get my hands in some soil, and I just started just planting some herbs. And again, no experience. I watered them to death. I drowned oregano and thyme, and and it's
we all
really
do.
hard to drown thyme, but I did it. Um, but it still came back to that. It was just the whole idea of like trying to, I don't know, have like this really like somatic experience where I felt like no longer am I having like this tightness in the shoulders and the tightness in the chest, but just this motion of pushing my hand to the soil, which is why I still don't wear gloves when I garden. And people go, you should wear gloves. And I go, yeah, I know I should. But there's something about just having my hands in there, the sensation. It's just, yeah. But what I do
Absolutely.
want to tell women is I would really love to encourage them to not let space get in the way. So when you're thinking about painting, the reason that it took me like 10 plus years to get back to it, my number one objection was space, because I had read so many, magazines, like where women create. And I saw all these gorgeous spaces. And so
Have your studio.
the story I kept telling myself is when I get this space, this is going to be fabulous. And then we moved into this house, and the boys had come back from college, and that room, I was like, this is finally the time. I've arrived. And I had this bedroom, and I had my desk put in there. I was like, this is going to be the studio. And then one moved home, and then the other moved home. And then sad trombone, right? Like the music in Harry Potter and Goblet of Fire, where, yeah, we know Diggory dies, and then, yeah, it's not good. Well, anyway, we get to this point where I'm like, the part of me just said, well, now what am I going to do? And I was just like, okay, this is not the right question. It's where. So then I go over to like the Container Store, and I buy a little cart. And this little teal cart you see over here in the corner, that became the place where I work. So I said, you don't need a big old space. This little mobile cart, I would wheel it under my counter in the kitchen, and I would wheel it back out. And I had that, a pad of paper, a couple of brushes, and that was it, a jar for water. And then it became less of, well, when I have this, because that was my all or nothing thinking, it was kind of like, well, what can you do in a small space? Can you pull it out? People do crafts on their lap all the time. You can
Right.
make this work. You can, and you don't need 3 hours like you did in that first workshop. You can do it in 15 minutes. You can do it in 20 minutes. You can just paint a bird if you want to. Just
Whatever
keep
time you
it
have.
really
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that helped me. That helped me to move forward, because without that, I would still be sitting there with my arms folded going, well, I don't have a studio. And you don't need it. Because again, we're not talking about like gallery work. We're not in this to be artists as a midlife woman. I've decided that I would love to try to focus on the professional side of it, but that's not what I want to build community for. I want to build it for everyday women who are like, look, I could do a 15-minute session where I could put on some music, zone out, and play around in some paint, and walk away washing paint from under my fingernails and feel like so awesome. Like that's the woman that I want to be able to say,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I love the thought of, I mean, seeing your cart right there and also hearing you talk about, but what about everyone else's studio? Like, I don't have a studio. And all these years, or, all these times when people are like, well, I don't have a studio. I don't have the right space, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, I'm doing it. I'm not waiting. I can't wait.
That's right.
And
That's
so,
right.
like, you're either gonna wait forever and
Exactly.
suffer, or, make it
And
work.
and emotionally you do feel that suffering, because I remember that I started that watercolor class, that little 6-week workshop. I went in that class where people had like, I mean, full layouts. You could tell they were hardcore, Amy. They had been doing this for years. And I walked in there with like a little index card plastic 3x5 box. And I had like 6 to 9 watercolor tubes. I think I bought like a starter set, which like set me back. I was teaching. I was a technology teacher at the time. And I was like, oh my God, like this was a good 20% of my paycheck on these watercolors because I bought Winsor Newton. And anyway, so I had that little plastic box, one Simply Simmons brush. I bought an 8 round brush. They said,
And she still
buy.
has it.
I still use it. And oh my God, it is in such great shape, sitting right back there. And I had like a jar for water. And then I just ended up getting a little palette, which is the same palette I still have today, has like plastic chips on the side, but the same writing in a Sharpie from my very first colors like burnt umber and raw sienna, still there. And this is, so many years later. So again, but you start small and you just make it work. And again, time wise, 15 to 30 minutes and you're done. And then you don't have to think, I have to put this off until my kids go to college, graduate from college. And then before you know it,
I need a whole morning or a whole afternoon or a whole day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And put it right in a place. Like I always say, I have like even a little tray. I always say, just put it in a place where you can grab and go. Just put on what you need. That way you don't even have to think about that. Like remove the mental load. Don't even. And that's what I loved about, I think we talked about my story about when I started I bought an art franchise back in 2018. And we went through and we ended like right there when COVID was really getting going. So it was really like 2018 to 2020-ish. And one of the things that the women loved about coming to that art class was that everything was already set up. So it reduced the objection of the, what do I bring? And this whole supply list thing that a lot of, art classes do. I said, no. It was just like hosting dinner for friends. I said, no, you just show up. They had the little name card there. Everything was there. Paint, paper,
remove
whatever.
all those barriers.
They just sat down and they painted and they left. And then they tried to clean up. We just dabbing with the paper towels and said, no. I clean up. And then they were like, oh my God, I'm telling all my friends about this. Because what woman doesn't want to just sit down and paint or create? Like, doesn't matter what you're doing. Knitting, beading, you name it. Just want to sit down and get to it. So 15 to 20 minute sesh. 30 minutes tops, which is what I'm really going for, to create a weekly ritual of like just 30 minutes. You're in, you're out. You don't even have to work. Over Zoom, we'll get together. If you want to talk, you can. If you don't, you just want to mute and zone out and have your own music playing and have your own beverage and just hang out with us, have a cuppa. It's all good.
Yeah. And so there's so many layers to the beauty of this. And I mean, we were talking about this before we hit record, but so Asia is creating this like barrier-free entry to creativity and small time frame. Like, like we were saying, you don't need to do an entire morning, entire afternoon, whole day, 2 hours, anything like that. It can be 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, just to just like detach and be creative and that it's. So one of the things that you said, Asia, that was so powerful for me, and I know that we've talked about it before, but for you, it's not creating something that is going to hang in a gallery or,
exactly.
adorn someone's mantelpiece or something like that. This is about the process for us.
Exactly.
So it's just that opportunity to be creative. And another thing that I was thinking about, and that we had talked about this as well, but like you're creating community as well.
Exactly.
And from when you were telling me about, taking this knitting course or the knitting group that you attend and these art classes, like the community that's built there is safe. They become like family. These are people that you see and you can talk about anything. Or you can talk about nothing.
Exactly.
And, if you have any issues with whatever project you're working on, you can bring it to them and they'll either have an answer or maybe they know someone. But I love so many things about this because this brings together, it can bring together generations or, you're talking specifically about midlife. People that know what you're doing, what you're going through.
Exactly.
And we were talking about, I had mentioned paint nights, which I don't know if they do that in the South. I
They
don't remember
do.
seeing them, but
Yeah.
like I feel like people that are putting these things on, they get it. They
Right.
get that whole midlife, like, I just need a night out to do something creative. And
Exactly.
it's something that we miss. We've been missing, and we may or may not know it because we're so focused on taking care of others, getting things done, making money, doing all the errands, all that stuff. But as Asia was saying, it's so important to nourish yourself so
Exactly.
that because of that ripple effect.
Exactly. That really creating is about returning to you. That's what it really is about. It's just about returning to you, however you want to do that. And it's interesting that you talked about the multiple generations. Like if you think about midlife as spanning from 440 all the way to, if you want to say 60 and beyond, but just like all the wisdom and all the wealth that comes from sitting down. I was telling you that when I go to the knitting club, which I don't go as often as I want, but it's okay because you can pop in. So again, there's no pressure. But I am not a knitter. I have just learned to cast on. Like we're talking kindergarten here. And we're sitting on like this farm. We've got this farmhouse table, one table in our local knitting store here in Raleigh. And Pam, the owner, has one farmhouse bench on one side and like four of us plop on that side. And then she has chairs on the other side. And we squeeze in like 7 to 9 of us. And we're all huddled together, shoulder to shoulder. And we're there like with our knitting needles. And we're sharing like not even knitting tips specifically, life struggles, life events, people who are going through health challenges and this and that. All this is coming about while we're sitting there knitting and laughing and connecting. And that ritual that the owner has created there week to week is what is sustaining us all because of that whole sense of community. And that happens again, which is what I love about the whole idea of whether you're painting together, sewing together, knitting together, it doesn't matter. It's the idea that you're sharing a wealth of knowledge, but also community. And it's how we survive. It's survival. I mean, for women, you think about each week, and this is like gone generations back, each week that women would come together years ago. If I think about like maybe my grandmother, maybe there was a sewing circle or quilting circle.
Right.
And you came back each week and these women had huge, heavy life problems, war, famine, all these things. But the fact that they made time each week to get together for this says this wasn't considered a hobby. This was considered survival.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right. And we should think of it the same way. I mean,
exactly.
because
Exactly. With a twist more fun. And so that's why I always like to tell women when they go, "Oh, Asia, but I'm not a painter." I was like, "Oh, all good. That's even better because now you're not trying to create like gallery work. You're coming because this is a relief for you, and you feel lighter and more yourself when you leave. And that's what you care about. And you're pushing around paint and you're making a mess and you're wiping it off your hands. And there's nothing like pulling burnt sienna or quinacridone magenta from under your nails. It's just a fancy purple, Amy. That's all it is. But it is gorgeous.
I have not heard that name.
And I absolutely love that feeling of just washing it off at the end of the day. If you've ever taken like a pottery class and you get clay on your hands, the washing off, that in itself is so healing and so soothing. So that it's just, so it doesn't really matter what you make. It's in the process that we're talking about, just from getting ready to cleaning up. It's so healing.
It sounds so nice. And so this is called Paint Together.
Paint Together.
And this is for midlife women.
For midlife women who want to make space for painting again. So it's for women who maybe they
or for the first time.
Or for the first time. But maybe they used to paint and they miss it because life got really, really full. And I like to say life got loud. Because here's the thing. Anytime you want to do something for yourself, it whispers. Anytime it's for someone else, it's loud. And loud always wins. So it's those whispers to say, you know what? You can come for a 15-minute sesh. You can do 15 minutes because the louder part of life says, oh, I don't have 3 hours. I don't have time for a hobby. And I used to just scoff too, like, oh, that sounds silly. And then I was like, ooh, you know what? My body's telling me maybe I need to pop in for 30 minutes.
Right.
And pop out. And
Yeah.
so, yeah. And so, yes, absolutely. For women who, for the first time, I would say though, if you've taken any kind of a painting class, then you're okay. Anything you've dabbled, so this is for like the dabbler or someone who's taken something, but then they put it away and their brushes are all dusty. And they haven't picked it up again. And they say, you know what, the things I learned before, it would be nice if I could experiment with those and just have fun with what I've already learned and pop into people where there's no pressure, like there's no guilt, no studio needed, no perfection. We're not here trying to make something. We're just here to reconnect with ourselves and each other. Yeah.
Dust off the paintbrushes, girls.
Yeah, because my brushes were dusty. And it just, it's so much fun to say we all have dusty brushes. It's all good. It's okay. There's no shame in it. And like I even show mine, like there's some where it's like, oh God, I'm choking here because I haven't used them in so long. But it's okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Oof. I'm gonna write that down because I dust off the paintbrushes.
That's right. And do it with us.
Okay. And you said the July 27th. Do you have a time frame?
Actually, no, we don't have a time. You just pop in the community and we get started. And because we have like playful prompts. So they're playful prompts when you first come in. So those you can do solo and just have fun with it. And then during that week, when we get to the actual paint together, the paints an actual paint circle, there we'll have multiple times and they can just go ahead and grab a time that works for them.
Okay, so there'll be multiple opportunities.
Yeah.
So it's not like if you're available at 7 p.m., that's great. If you're not available at 7 p.m., sorry.
Exactly.
It's not for you.
Exactly. That's right. We'll have multiple times so you can come on and join us.
That sounds really nice. Oh, goodness. There's so many thoughts that I have, and I know we talked about a lot of stuff before we hit record, but there are just so many things where it seems like community is healing. Community is so important, especially this time in our lives when we feel like we might be alone or feel like nobody understands because our bodies are crazy. They feel crazy, and we may or may not feel like we have time or we have that same that artistic bone in our body. Like we've lost that because we've been focused on so many other things, but it's really important to work those muscles.
Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, the ripple effect that you were talking about before, like what your son said that hit you so hard, that do more of that.
Do more of that. He didn't even ask what it was. He says, whatever it was, like every 8-year-old ever said, right? Whatever it was. Yeah. But I love what you just said, Amy. You mentioned something that's really, really key. And it's about loneliness and isolation. And I think in midlife, it's really, really crucial to allow yourself, to give yourself permission to be with other people. Because in midlife, there's almost like, I call it like this iceberg, right? There's the tiny bit on the top that we allow people to see, right? Mm-hmm. It's the work part, it's the part that we feel like is functioning okay to get through the day. And then there's the part underneath the surface where, it's heavy. There's a lot happening there. And so when we're in midlife, we have these dialogues that are going on in our head where for some of us, depending on our symptoms, if you're perimenopausal or menopausal, some of those symptoms say, I just want to be by myself. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want anybody to call me. Don't even ring the doorbell. I don't want to check in with anybody. So that can lead to its own isolation, loneliness, and those things. So we have a lot of that. And it's so human. It's so just part of the process.
Right.
Because I actually have it too. People go, oh, but you're so gregarious. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's during 12 and 3 to 4 p.m. in the day.
That's not all the time. That's just when you
If
see
me at 7 and 9, my husband goes, uh-oh. So to know that that's human and that's normal and that's part of this womanhood process, it's all good. So that said, when you have an opportunity, even though you may have to push yourself, adorable, when you have to push yourself to say, I'm going to show up for this thing for 15 minutes and then I'm out. That's okay. I'm going to show up for this thing for 30 minutes because I feel like at the end of it, I'm going to feel okay. I'm just going to feel it out and try it out. If I love the way I feel when I leave, I might come back to this. I might do this again. But to give yourself that space, because if we don't, then something that's already feeling really isolating and really lonely, like the whole midlife change, right? All of menopause can feel that way. All of perimenopause can feel that way. And if you don't get in a room with other people, whether they're knitting or sewing or painting or something, they go, oh my God, I thought it was just me. If we don't, then we'll feel even more isolated. So I think being able to have a ritual set up where it's weekly, and I have to tell you, I'm experimenting because I thought about, oh, it'd be nice to do it monthly. I said, you know what? How about set the table every week, invite people into your virtual living room where we get to paint. And if you can show up once a week and do it for the 15, 30 minutes, fine. If you can't, that's okay. But to me, in this world where everything is so heavy and so stressful, a monthly thing seems like a really long time for connection.
It does, yep.
I love the idea that you give her the choice to say, you know what, maybe I can pop in every fortnight. Maybe I can come once every 2 weeks and then I'm out and I'm good. But I love the idea of knowing that it's there for her. You pop into this virtual living room. You bring your one dusty brush. You bring your paint and we're on and we'll just sit down and you can zone out. You can listen to music. You can enjoy the quiet. And then you can go on and then live the rest of your life, enjoy your week, and just having that there for them. So I think that's super important. And that's what I love about that knitting club that I was telling you about. I pop in, I haven't been there for a few weeks, but when I come in, I sit down and I'm scrunched between two women.
Yep.
And we're just sitting there and I'm still on the same little square, little coaster that I'm making, and they're making shawls, and it's all good because they're sharing words of wisdom. And when the little square was finished, they showed me how to cast off, and I felt like I did a TED Talk. I was like, oh my God, this is incredible.
I just did a TED Talk. That's so great.
Learned how to cast off.
That's so great. I mean, it's a really important part. You gotta know how to finish it.
Yeah.
But so you were talking about, if someone can come every week or every other week or every, once a month, like
it's there for them.
What I love about stuff like that is because you're growing a community, and the community there will welcome you, whether you're first time, whether you've been away.
Exactly.
And for me, sometimes it's, you're so happy to see someone when they come up, but you also will think about them when they're not there.
Exactly.
And just say, oh, I've been thinking about you, maybe send them a message or something like that, because that just makes someone feel so important.
Seen.
Yeah.
It's such a big deal. And it's funny. One of my favorite shows of all times is like Little House on the Prairie. And the second one is The Waltons. And what I love about those two shows is when someone was missing from church, they would automatically go to the person's house and go, well, we missed you today. And then they would always bring something baked. It's like, how can we do that today in the 21st century? How do you do that?
Right.
Even if it's just sending them a DM to say, we noticed, we looked at your chair and we were sad and we just know, but we missed you. Or someone who's on vacation or someone who's sick. It just I think because in our own minds, a lot of the time we say, and especially if you're going through like this whole
Right.
menopausal adventure, no one's going to notice if I'm not there.
Yes.
Nobody's going to notice. It's just me. Like, no
Right.
one's going to notice. And the moment someone sends it out, it's like, there's the ugly cry. It's like, girl, I missed you. I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
Oh, thank God my
I
mascara is
matter.
waterproof. I know. I'm
Yes.
just like, oh God.
Yes.
So I think that's really, really important to just like, how do we do that to say, I was thinking about you. Just, I noticed you were here. And I think that's really important.
Yeah. Well, and so with that, having said that, you had mentioned a community. And so do you have like a Facebook community or is
Well,
it?
I'm so glad you said. So actually, I'm using Mighty Networks. So that
Oh,
way, I wanted something distraction free, just where they hop
not social
in.
media
Yeah,
connected.
they hop in and we can connect there. And then we'll just use Zoom right now. We'll just use Zoom for our paint circle. So then our regular weekly paint circle, they'll just hop in. They can put the camera on or off, totally up to them, and just join us for like 30 minutes. Paint, come in, but again, like no pressure, no perfection. Just hop in when it feels good for them and enjoy the company, enjoy the community. It's again, we're starting with a very small circle. So it'll be a nice, intimate group. And it's just a way of us like getting to know each other. And the reason I decided to do that versus to do one where it's like me on the screen and having a chat on the side, I think the days of those are over for me. The idea that, okay, that feels more like a paint along where someone's like, okay, this is what we're going to do.
Right.
And the members in the chat are just kind of commenting to each other. It's like,
Right. Well, then
what
you
if,
don't see faces and you don't get to
exactly. And
communicate with them. Yep.
that
And
whole
if it's too
sense of,
big, you're like, ew.
exactly,
No one
exactly.
will
So the
even
idea
notice.
of like, oh my God, these are real people and we're all here together for like 30 minutes and we just
We're
hop
all
off.
going through it.
We're all going through it and we're all sharing not just about like
And we're
painting because we're not in it to make masterpieces. We just want a place to like return to ourselves and like feel fully alive in this moment and like just some joyful painting, some creativity and like painting together. So yeah.
right. And another thing, there's a woman, there's a podcaster that I follow. Her name is Yvonne Marchese, and her podcast is, I forget what the name of her podcast is, but it's something about play. I'm sorry, Yvonne, if you're listening to this, and I forgot the name of your podcast, but it's something about play and the importance of play and
Powerful.
not being obsessed with everything being perfect.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's so it's so important because we always, with social media and everything, we're just like, Instagram is we call it the best. It's our Instagram life or whatever. We're showing the highlight reel, not the real
Exactly.
life.
Yeah.
And so the play is so important to bring us back to ourselves. The same with the paint, like it's the process and not
Exactly.
necessarily doing things perfect.
Yeah, it is actually, I will even go so far to say is play is critical. Now, keep in mind that my early life, way before like any of these creative things that I was a teacher. So I taught ages 4 to 74 for close to 20 years. And here's the one thing about play, and when I taught preschool, that the learning was all in the play. And what do I mean by learning? Um, the learning was discovery, exploration, problem solving. It sounds like this, huh? What happens when I mix these two colors together? What happens when I turn this upside down? What happens when I make this the front and this the back? All those things happen actually in play for adulthood. So the part of me that had that like conversation with myself going, I don't have time for like long leisurely 3-hour painting sessions. I'm 41 at the time. I've got kids getting ready to go to college. I can't do this. But what I forgot was that I was actually learning how to be a better problem solver without trying to be a better problem solver. I learned so much through painting. It's just like what we learned through gardening. Well, what happens when I, decide that I'm going to harvest this one earlier? What happens when I put these two species of plants together? There's so much happening. And what happens in creativity is we're not forcing the learning, but the play actually is the ignition for the learning. So if we allow ourselves to say, play is not silly, it's not immature, it's not frivolous, but play is the process, then if we could just embrace that concept, it would be mind-blowing. So I will say, start with the play. Don't start with trying to be a professional or serious or any of those things. This is not for people who want to be artists. This is for people who want to be closer to themselves and just feel lighter and freer and have a good time, because they're already professionals in all the other aspects of their life. This is not that. We don't need more professionalism. We need us. We need us. So this play is like, oh my God, I have 3 friends from around the world, and we have been playing on phone calls since COVID. So we've never met, the 4 of us, in person. The 3 of them got together in person, which was amazing. And the one thing that we do is we laugh all the time. Guess what happens in creating? Knitting, sewing, whatever. Women share jokes. Women share jokes about their lives, no matter what's going on, and someone needs a laugh pad, because it is hilarious when we get together and we realize that, oh my God, I'm not alone. I thought I was the only person struggling with XYZ. Right. And that all comes out through the play and the creating. So I would say, don't underestimate the power of play.
My goodness.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure, well, I assume that we've all said, that was such a good laugh. Like, and they say, laughter is medicine, blah, blah, blah. We watch comedic TV shows and movies because of the feeling that we get from laughing. But so it's also very similar to being in community with people.
Exactly.
That feeling of belonging.
And ritual. The fact that if you're getting with someone every week, guess what's happening to our systems? Now we're laughing more often. And I think that's the part that we need more of.
Yes.
So instead of like, oh, we've laughed once in 6 months, like a really just laughter. I love to hear women on girls' night out when they go out. It's like, that's the table at the restaurant that's always the loudest.
Yep.
And I'm like, see that? Look at that release that's happening. So the fact, if we can do more of that, on a regular basis, getting together, however we decide to get together, and create whatever it is we decide to create, we're all better for it.
Right. Oh my gosh. What a beautiful thing you're creating, Asia.
Oh, you, Amy.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
I just did this big sigh. Like I feel so excited, and I feel so good just knowing that this is out there. And you talking about that like the girls' night out at dinner, just to create something like that for women and as a ritual, like, something regular, not like you said, every 6 months or not a regular thing. It's good for your health.
It's good for your health. And it makes me think too, like I see all these wonderful posts and wonderful ads for like women and creativity retreats, which is fabulous. The problem is they're once a year, right? And women save up. It's a once a year thing. They feel so good. They're all in the feels, and it may last a weekend. It may last a week. And then they go back to their lives. And then it's like, you got to wait a whole another year or so to get back to that. And it's like, it goes back to like the sewing circles and the knitting circles and like a painting circle. The idea that you could get together, have a ritual that's not so pomp and circumstance. You don't have to do a whole lot to get yourself ready. You don't have to pack. You don't have to, save up. You could just say, you know what? I could pop in here for 30 minutes and be okay. And in menopause, and people won't get hurt as a result. I am going to be okay. People are going to be okay. Lives will be saved.
Everyone's going to be better off.
Lives will be saved.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. I mean, seriously, I think it's so important. And I've said this so many times recently in many conversations, but like taking away those barriers, like you were saying, I don't have a fancy studio. I don't
Exactly.
have, all the best equipment, but the fact is we don't need that to
Exactly. Yeah.
find that peace that comes with, you know, doing something creative, which the body is just like craving.
Craving, longing to do. And three kinds of space. So there's three that I had to like combat that I'm sure, I know I'm not alone. The first one is the mental space. Like, I don't have time for this. This seems silly. This seems frivolous. It's why it took me so long to read fiction. And really, I told myself, I don't have time for fiction. And I read all these business books for so many years, just all nonfiction, because I told myself that story. So that was the thing. I had to tell myself mentally, you know what? Creating space to create something is going to be good for your body. It's going to make you calm down. It's going to ease some anxiety. It's going to be okay. Mental space. The next thing is, well, I don't have a studio. I'm flipping through Where Women Create, and they've got these dreamy studios, and I've got a 3x7 little plastic thing, a little box, and I've got one paintbrush, and I've got like 9 little tubes of paint. This is all I have. Where am I going to do it? And then I decided I'm going to get me a little rolly cart from the container store, and I'm going to wheel it under my island, and I'm going to push it over in the corner when I'm not using it, and I'm going to pull it out when I'm using it. And then it was the heart space. Like, do I even deserve to do this? And that was huge. And I really had to tell myself, you've got to give yourself permission. No one ever looked at a woman that I know of and said, God, you work so hard. You should just take off and do what you want all the time. Like, even if my husband told me that back then, I would have been like, sure, that sounds like a good idea, but I need to load the dishwasher. Like, that's what was happening. So today, it's like that heart space has to look at, like, you give yourself permission to be off for 30 minutes. Like, even if you have to put it in some boundaries and say, I'm going to give myself permission to be off for 30 minutes. I'm going to give myself permission to be off for 15 minutes. If 30 seems like a stretch, 15 minutes. I'm going to
Right.
sit down for 15 minutes, and I'm going to just pull out my sketchbook.
And 15
Or I'm going
minutes
to
might
do
feel so good that you stay.
so good. So good. So good. Yeah. Didn't need like a whole retreat or a whole, yeah, you didn't have to, you didn't have to go to Maui for that one. So it really does come down to like those spaces. It's like the space in my head, the one, and I was looking around in my environment. I have space for this? And then just in the heart. And when I could like really tick those 3 boxes, then I said, you know what? I'm dusting off these brushes. That's it. I'm going to dust them off. I'm going to get a pad of paper, and I'm just going to play in some paint, and I'm just going to see what happens. I'm not trying to, sell gallery work at this moment. I just want to play with paint and have some other women join me who want to do the same thing and have a good time and feel lighter and save lives, right? Because when we feel good, everybody else is safe. So, yeah,
Saving lives. We are saving
that's what we're
lives.
doing.
You're welcome. Oh my
That's
goodness.
right.
This is so exciting. I'm so looking forward to hearing all about this and seeing, and maybe popping in if I'm brave enough to try
Yes,
painting.
and remember, this is not about what you make. And I have to say this because I have to, which I will not show on this podcast. But when I am dead, I told James he can share it, so my husband can share it then. But I decided this is when I said, oh, I'm going to try an all painting. And I made these 2 parrots, and one looks like the head's chopped off because it's so bad. It's an ugly painting, and I want that ugly painting to just be a reminder to people where that whole process for me, the joy was all about mixing the oil. That's all it was about. It was never supposed to be 2 pretty parrots because they're not. So, with that said, whenever you want to pop in, just pop in, mix paint, play with paint. We'll wash it off together. It'll be a blast.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Asia, what does the word sustainability mean to you?
Ooh.
I know we did this
Today,
3 years ago, but right, I'm sure the
in
answer
this
is different.
context, Amy, it means community because community sustains us. It's like they are like the most natural to me, like renewable resource right now. I just feel like when I'm talking to more and more women, it's community that's sustaining us. It really is. Because there are days where we're like, I don't know if I can forget about get out of the bed. I don't know if I can function today. And in midlife, a lot of women are really at this place where they're leaving jobs,
Right.
leaving whole lifestyles because they were like, I need to
I
do something.
quit.
Exactly. The whole thing. The
Yeah.
whole thing. So community is the one thing I think that's really holding us together right now. And I think that's sustainable.
Ooh, love that.
Yeah.
Okay. And what is the best way to find you, the
Well, yeah. So for
paint
Paint Together,
together?
they could actually just on Instagram. So I'm at Asia Sharif Clark, artist. And on there, they'll see a link for it. And I know you'll have it too in the
I
show
love it.
notes. But yeah, that way they could just come to Paint Together. And they could also DM me too. So if they just want to reach out and go, hey, I listened to you on Amy, who is fabulous, then I would love it. All they have to do is say grounded in Maine to me. And I'm like, oh my God, you are fabulous. So yes,
Your
that'd be great.
family, welcome.
You're so good. You're so, and thank you for all you do, community, really, for all these years. You're just a legend in podcasting to me. You're just a beautiful soul, Amy.
Uh, Asia had a podcast of her own a little bit ago, and she's so kind. Um, so nice to reconnect with you. My goodness.
Too, me too.
This
Thank
has
you for
been really
this.
fun, and I'm so thrilled to share this. So, you guys, the links will be in the show notes, and Paint Together will be starting the week of June 27th.
Yep, July
Check out the
27th.
links.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so this is going to be a bonus episode. As soon as I'm able to get it edited, I will get it out, so that we can get prepared and get ready for this and be part of this amazing community that's
Fun.
saving lives.
That's right. Come paint with us. That's right. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you again, Asia.
Thank you.